Shalom, everyone. Today we're going to do part 2 of part 5 of the bride line. We are, you are being built into the dwelling place in its fullness of Yahuwah Elohim. But we are being built into it now. We are the dwelling place of Yahuwah Elohim, individually and collectively. And what we do with the fact that we're being built into it and how we walk as part of the body, the flesh or the spirit, simply matters. Is he resonating with us? Are we resonating with the spirit, or are we living for the flesh? Yahuwah, we just praise you, honor you. Father, I give you all the glory, Yah, that we can walk in spirit and in truth, that we can focus on everything that's good, lovely, holy, and of good report, everything that is tob, everything that is functional, everything that the body should be, even as it is a picture of our own body, everything the body should be. Father, Yahuwah, cause us to hear and cause us to see and cause our hearts to turn and repent, that we might be pulled, that small remnant that will be pulled from the body to be your bride. Father, open our ears, cause us to see what you have breathed, and give each and every one of us the direction that we need, that we not be tossed to and fro by everything that comes upon us. Hallelujah. In your name, Yahuwah, who came to rescue us. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Okay. So, we're going to look at, just review real quick. I won't spend a lot of time on it, since we just did the first half yesterday. We're in 1 Corinthians 6. We read through verses 9 through 20. We talked about that permitted means it just exists. All these things exist, but not all of them profit. Not all of them are tob. Not all of them are going to put us as fruits into the basket in the house. First fruits, basket, house. All exists, but don't come under the authority of anything that is dysfunctional. Only that which is functional, lovely, holy, good report. We saw what profits in Jeremiah 26. We talked about, in this passage, we have foods for the stomach and stomach for the foods. And I want to really reiterate the part about the foods. The food Noah was told to gather, and that comes from the language root line, El to the Ta, to gather all the food which would be eaten, which goes to the bride line. What we feed on, what we listen to, what we see, what we take in, is going to be for the flesh, or it's going to be for the spirit. So we really need to focus on the food, physically, of course, spiritually, absolutely, both. The foods that we are taking in, because they will give us the strength to be tamed for the yoke, or it won't. We'll be tamed for the yoke of bondage, and we'll stay in that yoke. Foods for the stomach. The stomach is an unknowing knowing. It's a mem, an ayin, and a hay. It's the place, the gut, the internal organ, the seat of the unconscious mind, also the seat of emotion. Oh, I didn't even realize that when I prayed. Okay, so we need to be not wrought by everything that comes upon us. We need to have the unknowing knowing that comes from the Ruach HaKodesh, which we are supposed to be the dwelling place of. Genesis 25, 22 to 27, we saw that there were 2 manner of people in her womb. And we looked at that on the east sword, which came from the Lam. There's 2 manner of people that were in Ribka's womb. One that will be the body of Messiah, the master walking in the spirit, and one that will be the body of the whore walking in the flesh. And we took a look at the word whoring. A mattock of the seed. This is the crops were harvested for a supply of foods which were stored in jars. So, the horse feeding you something. We're being fed one thing or we're being fed another, depending on what's going in our ears and what's going in our eyes. What are we adhering to? We're in the yoke, but what's causing us to stay there? It's what we're clinging to. We looked at, some examples of whoring and what that looks like in those verses. Then we talked about the body. Do you not know that your bodies are members of the Messiah? Or they can be a body of the whore. It says so right there. So we saw this body goes back to the root line where we get goy or gaim or what's the exact pronunciation here? It's got to do with derivatives. Goya, by extension, the body. It's either alive. The body's either alive under the master or dead under the whore. Spiritually and one day physically. That's just how it's going to be. Not that everybody's not going to die physically, because no flesh and blood are going to inherit the kingdom. But you're looking at one body, or you're looking at another. We looked at Psalm 110, where the King of Righteousness, the Melchizedek head cannot have a body of a whore. It cannot have a body of the Aaronic priesthood. It has to have a body that is Yisrael, from which the bride will be pulled, because she came in line with everything that was beautiful, righteous, pure, holy, and lovely, that was of the King of Righteousness, the Melchizedek. We looked at Daniel 1 through 10, a picture of Elohim himself, and his body of beryl, and his feet the color of polished bronze, and his eyes were a flaming fire, but that we're supposed to be made like him. One day we're going to be one with him. So not that we're going to be him, of course not, but we should be looking like all that same picture as much as possible here and now that we see in Daniel 10, 5 and 6. And we looked at Nehemiah, just a kind of a repetition of some things that happened in, I believe, Numbers, and 1 Corinthians 12, where the same Spirit gives all the gifts. The whole point of Corinthians 12 was it's just not an individual thing. It's individually and collectively. The whole body has to work together. Okay, so, I think this is where we're going to be then. We stopped at body. So, this will be the second part here. Back to 1 Corinthians 6, verses 16 and 17. Or do you not know that he who is joined to a whore is one body? For he says the two shall become one flesh. That doesn't mean it's wrong to be married. This is a picture of here we're here on the earth. We're going to walk in the flesh, because this is where we are. It doesn't mean we're not joined to the Master in spirit, but there's things we'll need to do here as husband and wife, even though we're in the flesh, to walk this out. Because when we look at flesh, we'll talk more about why then. For he says the two shall become one flesh. Now that's a picture of the whore. And he who is joined to the Master is one spirit. Okay, it's just a picture of the flesh versus the spirit. So looking at the word joined, it's Strong's Greek 2853, kola, which is to glue. To glue, that is passively or reflexively, to stick. What makes you stick to something? What are you feeding? What are we feeding? It goes back to Deuteronomy 10, verse 20. Fear Yahuwah, your Elohim. Serve him and cling to him and swear by his name. He is your praise and he is your Elohim, who has done for you these great and awesome deeds which your eyes have seen. The word there is cling, Strong's H1692, a primitive root, properly to impinge, that is, cling or adhere, figuratively to catch by pursuit. Really? Jeremiah 2 says they don't even have to chase her. She's right there waiting. Are we? What are we pursuing in our own lives? Are we waiting on Yahuwah Elohim? Are we doing that and seeking that and desiring that which would cause us to adhere? What would join us together with Him? So, okay, sorry. It's in Benner's Lexicon at 2092V. And you can see the V there on the bottom in blue is adhere, to join or stick to someone or something. And the noun, which is the exact same word, and everything's action in Hebrew. They weren't diagramming sentences in the wilderness. Fastener, what joins together? What joins us to one body or the other body? At the 3-letter adopted root, we have the action is adhere, and the concrete is a fastener. So let's go to Psalm 101. I sing of loving commitment and right ruling. That'll cause you to cling to Him. To you, O Yahuwah, I sing praises. I act wisely, in a perfect, in a tamim, in a mature way. When do you come to me? When do you come to me? I walk in the midst of my house with a perfect heart. Are we grown up, mature, spotless, without blemish, as the bride of Elohim should be? When we looked at Beryl in Daniel, which was his body, I did some reading on Beryl, and we saw that Beryl was this clear, supposed to be clear and colorless. Perfect, as far as the color is concerned. It was when it took on color that there was an imperfection. That's what I read. Could there be more to that? There could be. I didn't do an in-depth study on Beryl. What a beautiful picture. His body walks in the midst of the house, of their own house, of your house, of my house, of his house, of his family. Because house can be a family. Did we see that yet? Oh, we didn't see that yet. House can be a family. Beit can be the family or the house they live in. I walk in the midst of my house with a mature heart. I set no matter of Belial before my eyes. Why? It's going to feed the flesh. It's going to cause us to want to adhere, stay adhered, or leave and become adhered again, the yoke of bondage with the whore. I hate the works of those who fall away. Those are fleshly works. Those are works of the whore. It does not cleave to me. How about I do not adhere to it, therefore it does not adhere to me. Resist the devil. Submit to Yahuwah Elohim. And the devil's going to flee from you. Not that he won't come back for an opportune time. A perverse heart turns away from me. I do not know evil. I do not know dysfunction. Why? Because he's intimate with that which is Tob and that which profits, of all the things that are out there that exist. Him who secretly slanders his neighbor I cut off. I do not tolerate one who has a haughty look and a proud heart. My eyes are on the trustworthy of the land, those who feed the spirit and do that which is profitable. Those are the trustworthy ones in the land. Amen. My eyes are on the trustworthy of the land to dwell with me. Are we going to dwell with the Melchizedek body, under the King of Righteousness? Let's go look at this word dwell just quickly. Are we going to be the bride? Let's see if I can get it pulled up here. Psalm 101:6. It's the word dwell. Of course, it comes from the repentance root line. It means to turn, press back to the tent, etc., etc. I'd like to look at it in the Strongs. Yes, we need to repent. I didn't mean that to sound so flippant. A primitive root, properly to sit down, specifically as a judge, in ambush, in quiet, by implication to dwell, to remain, causatively to settle, to marry. Is, do we want to be the bride? Are we chosen to be the bride? Are we doing the things that we need to do to be the bride? There's still time. He who walks in a perfect way, tamim, upright, mature, spotless, blameless, is going to dwell with the Malki. He serves me. Because he's going to... There's someone in your house that's not being a servant. We are to serve Yah. We are to serve each other. The scripture escapes my mind right now. He who does not work does not eat. He who walks in a perfect, mature, spotless, unblemished way serves me in spirit and in truth, not in flesh and a lie. He who practices deceit does not dwell in my house, is not part of my family. He who speaks lies, does not stand in my presence. Each morning I uproot all the wrong of the land to cut off the workers of wickedness. What are they working? That anything that the whore sets before them to keep them joined to and adhered to the whore. Cut off. If you're in the body and you do that, if your hand causes you to sin, cut it out. If your eye causes you to sin, pluck it out. What are we doing? To cut off all the workers of wickedness, fleshly works, whoring works, from the city of Yahuwah. Like the new Yerushalayim comes down like a bride adorned for her husband. The bride is part of the whole deal. She's part of the temple. We are being built into the temple. We are the dwelling place of the Ruach HaKodesh one day in its fullness. And I can't tell you what that looks like. I don't know what the fullness of it's going to look like then. We don't have anything for that. They're also part of the house, the part of the family. They're also the new Yerushalayim that comes down. Because the seed has to come in some gate. So we do not want to cleave to or allow to cleave to us no matter of Belial. Might come before our eyes. Doesn't mean we sit with it. And the works of those who fall away. Revelation 17, 1-6. And one of the 7 messengers who had the 7 bowls came and spoke with me, saying, Come, I show you the judgment of the great whore, sitting on many waters, sitting amongst the people. She's not on them, she's among them. She might be on them as their head. That could go with that. She's among them. She's part of them. With whom the sovereigns of the earth committed whoring, and the inhabitants of the earth were made drunk with the wine of her whoring. And he carried me away in the spirit, in the flesh, in the spirit, But you ain't going in the spirit if you're not, I'm going to say spiritually minded, not carnal minded. If you're not being built into the house, definitely if you're not being built into the temple as the bride of Yahuwah Elohim, you're not going away in the spirit and you're not working in it, walking in it. That's not where I wanted to go. And he carried me away in the spirit in the wilderness. And I saw a woman sitting on a scarlet beast, covered with names of blasphemy. Anything that is not the breath of Yahuwah Elohim, anything that's not his name, is not his name. It's blasphemy. Having 7 heads and 10 horns. And the woman was dressed in purple and scarlet, adorned with gold and precious stones and pearls. She's missing blue. And pearls. Holding in her hand a golden cup filled with the abominations and filthiness of her whoring, all that would feed the flesh. And the blood of the set-apart ones. And upon her forehead a name written, a secret. Babel, the great mother of the whores and of the abominations of the earth. Anything that is not spoken and done from a place of Yahuwah Elohim, it's just babble. It's all babble. All the rest of this is babble. Even some of what we've been handed down is babble. And I saw the woman drunk with the blood, drunk with the wine, drunk with the blood of the set-apart ones, including Yahushua Messiah, and with the blood of the witnesses of Yahushua. And having seen her, I marveled, greatly marveled. We need to adhere and to cling to and to serve Yahuwah Elohim. Not cling to that which the whore would give us to drink, to eat, to see, to hear. I can't read the rest of the book of Revelation. We'd be here a long time. We know these things. How badly do we want them? And are we listening? And I've been guilty of it. Are we listening to the Ruach HaKodesh that is in our gut with that instinct? Or is there something else driving us? I speak from a point of been there, done it, still happens sometimes. It's going to continue to happen if we don't adhere to all that is of Yahuwah Elohim. If we're not seeking him now from the very depths of who we are, while he may be found, we will get tossed by every wind and wave of doctrine, by all kinds of things that come upon us, by emotions, by all kinds of things like that. Not that you don't have an emotion. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with having emotions. But we cannot allow them to drive us if what is coming is not that unknowing knowing that is of the Ruach HaKodesh. Feed the spirit, not the flesh. Oh, then here we are with the flesh. Do you not know that he who is joined to a whore is one body? There you have it. We got 2 bodies going on. We had 2 manner of people in Ribka's belly, in her womb. One with an unknowing knowing, and one trying to take it from you. For he says the 2 shall become one flesh. Greek 4561, probably from the base of 4563, flesh, as stripped of the skin, that is strictly the meat of an animal as food. Noah had to eat that which was clean, that was good, that he should gather to him, that was food, the animals. It was a picture. That which he gathered was pure, like it came from the language root line. By extension, the body, as opposed to the soul or spirit. Or as the symbol of what is external. You got to come from the inside out, not the outside in. First you clean the inside of the cup and dish. Then the outside of the cup and dish will be clean also. As a symbol of what is external, or as the means of kindred, or by implication human nature. There might be a study, right? With its frailties, right, Steph? With its frailties, physically and morally, and passions, are specifically a human being as such. Boy, that flesh has got it going on, and it would like to drive us. I speak from a point I know. Goes back to Genesis 2:24. For this cause a man shall leave his father and mother and cleave to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. What are they going to overcome? Together. The flesh. The husband and the wife together, the man and the woman overcome the flesh because it comes from the root line where we get besor when the good news is brought. A feast with meat is prepared. The skin and muscle are the whole of a person, also the meat as food. That's what needs to be overcome. Whatever's driving us that is not of the Ruach HaKodesh, I know. I speak to myself. I look back on things I've done and said, places I've been. We need to get real honest with ourselves. I don't want to take a big look at flesh. That's enough on flesh. We're going to see some more on flesh, but we're going to, cut the study there because we're going to see some things on flesh. Spirit. Okay, so he who was joined, do you not know that he who was joined to a whore is one body? For he says the two shall become one flesh. The whore is all about the flesh. That's simple. Are we going to overcome it? So that we are joined to the master in one spirit? Just like a wife should be joined to her husband in one spirit and overcome the flesh together. Just a minute, I gotta have some air. Alright, hopefully someone will take care of the open windows out there when they hear the air conditioner go on. Okay. And he who is joined to the master is one spirit. We are walking in the spirit of the Ruach HaKodesh that should be dwelling with us individually and collectively. Strong's G 4151. For 4154, a current of a current of air, that is breath, blast. Well, who breathed that? The spirit. Or a breeze. By analogy or figuratively, a spirit that is human. By implication, a rational soul, mental disposition, superhuman, an angel, a demon, or divine El, Messiah's spirit, the Holy Spirit. Yes, there is a spirit of Messiah. It's all over the New Testament. It's all over the Old Testament, because it's all one. Goes back to Genesis 1:2, and we can find spirit all over the place. And the earth came to be formless and empty, and darkness was on the face of the deep. And the spirit, the Ruach of Elohim, was moving on the face of the waters. That is loaded. Spirit, wind, by resemblance breath, that is a sensible or even violent exhalation, figuratively life, anger, unsubstantiality. I didn't know that was there. By extension, a region of the sky, by resemblance spirit, but only of a rational being, including its expressions and functions. Oh, I left my coffee out there too. Okay, 1445 JN in Benner's Lexicon. Wind. Also the wind of man, or Elohim, or breath. At the J, family root, we see the action is to refresh. The concrete is wind. Let's look at the V in that root right above it first. It's the same word. It's just a noun or a verb. To be given a fresh wind, smell, as carried on the wind. Where would be the nose for the smelling? It's all a picture. Spacious, to be wide with space. If we go to the J family root, the action is refresh, the concrete is wind. The Hebrew nomads were very familiar with the wind patterns as they would follow a prescribed path indicating the coming season. Wow. From this word comes the idea of breath, as it is the wind of man, which also follows a prescribed path, inhaling and exhaling. If we're feeding the Spirit, if we're one in the Spirit with the Master, we're following the path which He has laid out for us. It's that simple. I mean, are we like the wind and they may not know where we're going? We know we're coming, but we don't know where we're going? Yes, because that's got to do with a whole nother concept. But there's still a prescribed path. Unless, of course, you're a harp and you want to change the wind patterns. Oh, there's a slap in the face of Yah. At the two-letter parent root, we have a resh and a chet. The action is travel, the concrete is path. The pictograph resh is a picture of the head of man. The chet is a picture of a wall that separates the inside from the outside. Combined, these mean man outside. The responsibilities of the nomad outside of the tent include the feeding, water, and caring for the livestock. If we're one with the Master in the Spirit, truly the body, mature with Elohim, what are we feeding the rest of the flock? What are we washing them with the water of the, giving them the water of the word? Let me not say it that way because that's Yahusha. Are we giving them the water of life that flows? Are we caring for them? Are we doing the same for ourselves? Livestock are healthier and more productive when on a routine, right? Not being blown around by every wind and wave of doctrine and emotion that comes upon them. Therefore, the man follows a routine or a prescribed path each day when caring for his livestock. It's that simple. Just do what it said. Dig deep. Seek him while he may be found. Romans 7. We're going to read a lot in Romans, apparently, because that's a lot in Romans there. That's what we're going to do. Okay, Romans. Let me see if I can find the chapter here. There's 8. Or do you not know, brothers? Romans 7:1. Or do you not know, brothers, for I speak to those knowing the Torah, that the Torah rules over a man as long as he lives. For the married woman has been bound by the Torah to the living husband. But if the husband dies, she is released from the Torah concerning her husband. This is all about Yahuwah coming to die for his bride. Coming to die to the flesh. Wrapping himself in the flesh, the Word made flesh, wrapping himself in what he breathed. So we could come back to him. So then, while her husband lives, she shall be called an adulteress if she becomes another man's. But if her husband dies, she is free from that Torah, so that she is not an adulteress, having become another man's. So, my brothers, just get washed in the water of the Word. Start there. Start with the Sabbath and be immersed in the name of Yahuwah Elohim. There is a family name which we are to carry. And there's only one name. Oh, I need to not say that. If we carry the name of the family of Yahuwah Elohim, then we must serve, behave, and be adopted into part of the family of Yahuwah Elohim. As an example, we're going to take a sidetrack here, I guess. As an example, I could do all the things to be the daughter of the King of England. I could walk and talk and dress and study and know all the things about the family. I could even say I'm part of the family of the King of England. But if the King of England hasn't called me part of his family, or hasn't adopted me in, I'm not part, or I haven't been brought into that family, I'm not part of that family. If we are not immersed into the proper name that is all about who he is, the fact that he breathed, and everything in its proper order, we're not part of that. We're not going to go in and be the bride. It's that simple. When we marry, we take on that of our husband. Plain and simple. That was a sidetrack. So my brothers, you also were put to death to the Torot, to the flesh, through the body of Messiah, because he died to the flesh. So we as the body must die to the flesh. With our husband, walking hand in hand, for you to become another's. You also were put to death to the Torot, through the body of Messiah, for you to become another's. The one who was raised from the dead, that we should bear fruit to Elohim. Dead to the flesh, because we became the body of another's. We were whores. We committed adultery with another. They did it at the foot of the mount, all the way through. Finally he had to say, get out, get away from me. That we should bear fruit unto Elohim. For when we were in the flesh, the passions of sin, through the Torah, were working in our members to bear fruit to death. Are we part of the body of the whore, bearing fruit unto death? Are we trying to bring that into the body now? But now we have been released from the Torot, having died to what we were held by. Be ye not entangled again with the yoke of bondage, so that we should serve in newness of the Spirit under the Master. For he who is part of the body of the Master is one in spirit, and not in the oldness of the letter. Because if the flesh is dead, or we're still dying to it, we're not serving the flesh. And so we serve in newness of the Spirit, not the oldness of the letter. We're not under the curse of that letter of the law anymore, because we're not under the curse. Doesn't mean we don't have to follow the law. In the same breath, we serve in the newness of the Spirit of the King of righteousness who came to rescue us, not in the order and the oldness of the Torot that is in the Levitical priesthood, which could do nothing to save us, but bring us to the light. Aaron was supposedly the light bearer, that's what they define his name as, which brought us unto Messiah. We've got a dual picture going on here of dying to the flesh and being in the correct priesthood, kings and priests under the King of righteousness. What then shall we say? Is the Torot sin? Let it not be. Of course it's not. However, I did not know sin except through the Torot. How are we going to know what's right and what's wrong? Except we follow the Torot. Except we know the Torah. Except we let go. How are we going to know unless we look at that picture of the Aaronic priesthood that brings us to this point now? Because it was all a picture. It was all necessary, but it was all a picture to bring us to where we are. For also the covetousness I knew not, if the Torot had not said, you shall not covet. That's right there on the marriage commandment tablets. But sin, having taken the occasion through the command, did work in me all covetousness. For apart from the Torah, sin is dead. There is no way to know or correct it if we're not dying to the flesh now with the Torah that's been laid out, and if we're not dying to the flesh in a manner that is of not dying to the fact that it was the Aaronic priesthood and now it's the King of Righteousness priesthood and part of that body. You cannot have a Melchizedek head and a Aaronic body. It's not going to work. And I was alive apart from the Torah once, but when the command came, the sin revived and I died. Died to what? Died to the flesh. He's dead to the flesh. He fell under all those laws and rules and actually extra add-ons. But he died to all that. He might have thought he was alive. And the command, which was to result in life, this I found to result in death. Well, it did result in life, but it resulted in death to the flesh. When he began to follow the commands that were there, they resulted in life. He used to think that command resulted in life, but actually it resulted in death. We've got two sides of this picture going on here. It's just, it's beautiful. For the sin having taken the occasion through the command deceived me, and through it killed me. So that the Torah truly is set apart, and the command set apart, and righteous, and tov. It's good. It's profitable. Therefore, has that which is tov become death to me? Let it not be. That which is tov does not cause that which is tov does not grieve the Ruach HaKodesh, but causes death to the flesh. We can overcome that with him as our husband, that flesh, in the body of the King of Righteousness. It comes no other way. Well, let me say that. Let me add to that. You can be doing the Torah, you can be doing the Torah, and we should be. It's not to negate that. That is absolutely foundational. Therefore, I read this, has that which is good become death to me? Let it not be. But the sin, that sin might be manifest, was working death in me through what is tov, so that sin through the command might become exceedingly great sinner. I made chief number one in my world sinner. For we know that the Torah is spiritual, but I am fleshly, sold under sin. Everything that was written is spiritual. Is it legalistic? Well, it sure is. We don't follow the laws, we're going to end up under this curse that we read about in Revelation 17. We're going to be part of that body. For what I work I know not, for what I wish I do not practice, but what I hate that I do. Stephanie, do. But if I do what I do not wish, I agree with the Torah that it is good. The flesh don't want to do it. And now it is no longer I that work, but the sin dwelling in me. when we do what we don't want to do and we don't do what we do want to do according to the Spirit, the sin is working. The flesh has given us something to adhere and to cling to for it's trying to cleave to us, and our flesh wants to cleave to it. Wants to drive us. For I know that in me, that is in my flesh, dwells nothing tob, nothing profitable. It exists, but it's not profitable. Resist. For to wish is present with me, but to work the tob I do not find, because the flesh does not want to do that. For the good that I wish I do not do, but the evil, the dysfunction, the ra'ah, I do not wish to do, this I practice. Been driven to do something lately? And if I do that which I do not wish, it is no longer I who work, but it is the sin dwelling in me. The Spirit does not want to sin. We're supposed to be growing up and mature and overcoming as one in the Spirit, under Him, as the Master, as our head, as one body, individually and collectively. I find therefore this law, that when I wish to do good, that the dysfunction is present with me. It wants to drive you. For I delight in the Torah of Elohim according to the inward man, according to the Ruach, that is the authority inside of the fullness of the authority that's inside of me. But I see another Torah in my members battling against the Torah of my mind, and bringing me into captivity to the Torah of sin which is in my members. Right? Are we being driven by that which is pure, righteous, good, holy, and lovely? Are we do we hear? What are we feeding on? Wretched man, let me leave that. Wretched man that I am, who shall deliver me from this body of death? It's a picture of the flesh and dying to it. Wretched man that I am, who shall deliver me from this body of death? Thanks to Elohim through Yahushua, Messiah, our Master. So then, with the mind, I myself truly serve the Torah of Elohim, but with my flesh, the Torah of sin. What is driving us? The Spirit, being one Spirit under the Master. There is no compromise in that arena. Then, there is then now no condemnation to those who are in Messiah, Yahusha, who do not walk according to the flesh, but according to the Spirit. What are we walking according to? We just read it. The body of the flesh, or under the Master who is the Spirit. For the Torah of the Spirit of life in Messiah, Yahusha, has set me free from the Torah of sin and death. Because now we can obey the Torah under one Master in the Spirit, or we can adhere to the things of the flesh, which are going to eventually go. If your hand sins, cut it off. If your eye sins, cut it out. Also, it has set us into be in the body of the King of Righteousness, the Melchizedek, not under the Aaronic priesthood, which brought us to this. Now we can go back, and now we can be married in the Spirit to our husband. For the Torah being powerless, and that it was weak through the flesh, Elohim having sent his own Son in the likeness of flesh of sin, and concerning sin, condemned sin in the flesh. He sent every piece, part, and conglomerate of who he was, and wrapped himself in it, died in the flesh, for the love of his bride, and showed us how to do it. So that the righteousness of the Torah should be completed in us who do not walk according to the flesh, like they did at the mount, and gave it all up. Hoard at the foot of the mount, but that's where they got the Aaronic priesthood that had to lead us back to where we are now, but according to the Spirit. For those who live according to the flesh set their minds on the matters of the flesh, like they did at the mount, where they got the Aaronic priesthood, but those who live according to the Spirit, the matters of the Spirit. We need not to let the flesh drive us to practice those things we don't want to practice, and not to practice those things that we know to practice. For the mind of the flesh is death, but the mind of the Spirit is life, here and now, and then and there, and shalom. It is a life of shalom. We are to be walking with the shoes of the gospel peace. The shalom is to master and rule in our hearts. Our entire life is supposed to master us. We are not going to be living stones as one in the temple, as a picture of the temple, as a picture of the house, and as a picture of the city that the seed comes in. If we are not walking in the Spirit and the Torah of Elohim, which gives us life here and now to feed others, eternal life then and there, and walking in the shalom that He has given us. Because the mind of the flesh is enmity towards Elohim, for it does not subject itself to the Torah of Elohim, neither is it able. A carnal mind cannot discern spiritual things, and that's just that. Almost said vice versa, but I don't mean that. And those who are in the flesh are unable to please Elohim. They're not complete. They're not in the bride line, because that's where we get that word able, which means to be complete. They're not able. But you are not in the flesh, but in the Spirit, if indeed the Spirit of Elohim dwells in you. The Ruach HaKodesh gives you this unknowing knowing. You read it? You can read it all day long and follow it. There's stuff out there trying to drive us. Let me tell you. Most of you might have that figured out today. And if anyone does not have the Spirit of Messiah, I thought it was the Spirit of Yahuwah. I thought it was the Holy Spirit. Ruach HaKodesh. It's all one. If anyone does not have the Spirit of Messiah, this one is not his. The Spirit of Messiah shows him as the high priest, the greatest prophet, the King of kings. And if Messiah is in you, I thought the Ruach HaKodesh was in us. Messiah is the Word. Is the Word in you? Is the Ruach HaKodesh in you? All right, that's enough. And if the Messiah is in you, the body is truly dead. Dead to what? Dead to sin. On account of sin. But the Spirit is life on account of righteousness, because you're under the head, the Master, the King of righteousness Himself, in one Spirit, individually and collectively. And if the Spirit of Him who raised Yahusha from the dead, who raised the Word that was made flesh, raised Him from the dead, because the Word does not return void, dwells in you, He who raised Messiah from the dead, that's what I meant, shall also give life to your mortal bodies through His Spirit dwelling in you. We can have life here and now. This is not Joel Osteen, your best life now, right? It is your best life now. If you are living and following and walking in the Ruach HaKodesh, that's the best you can have here on this earth until it's all renewed. And that leads you into the best life forever. Joel Osteen, brother. So then, brothers, we are not debtors to the flesh to live according to the flesh. For if you live according to the flesh, you are going to die like the whore. But if by the Spirit put to death the deeds of the body, of the flesh, of the whore, and what wants to cling to you, and that what wants to drive you, you shall live, because you shall die in the flesh, to the flesh. For as many as are led by the Spirit of Elohim, these are the sons of Elohim. For if you did not receive the spirit of bondage again of fear, but you received the Spirit of adoption, by whom we cry out, Abba, Father. Isn't that interesting? I didn't know that was coming. Whose family are we part of? The Spirit Himself bears witness with our spirit that we are children of Elohim. And if children, also heirs, truly heirs of Elohim and co-heirs with Messiah, if indeed we suffer with him in order that we also be exalted together. Suffer how? By dying to the flesh. We shall also be exalted together. When? When we are made like him. Because we become one with him, we are made like him. 1 John chapter 3. For I reckon that the sufferings of this present time are not worth comparing with the esteem that is to be revealed in us. Whose esteem? Our esteem? His esteem. A husband esteems his bride. We will be made like him. We will be one with him as a husband is with his bride. Here we see it in the flesh, and we need to overcome the fleshly things of the flesh to be one in the spirit. That'll lead us to that place in the spirit. For the intense longing of the creation eagerly waits for the revealing of the sons of Elohim. Why? Because they're groaning for it. They don't want to live in this death, decayed, fallen world. For the creation was subjected to futility, not from choice, but because of him who subjected it in anticipation. That the creation itself also shall be delivered from the bondage to corruption into the esteemed freedom of the children of Elohim, because we shall be made like him. And everything will be renewed back to its perfect order like it was in the beginning. For we know that all the creation groans together and suffers the pains of childbirth together until now. And we're getting closer, right? I didn't know this was here either. And not only so, but even we ourselves, who have the first fruits of the Spirit, who are going to be in the first resurrection, in the basket. Because they did that which existed, that was Tob. We ourselves also groan within ourselves, that is correct, eagerly awaiting for the adoption, the redemption of the body, of our body. We will be fully in the family, in the spirit, out of the flesh. For in this expectation we were rescued. We were saved by Yahuwah, who came to rescue us. But expectation that is seen is not expectation. For when anyone sees, does he expect it? And if we expect what we do not see, we eagerly wait for it with endurance. And in the same way, the Spirit does help in our weakness. For we do not know what we should pray, but the Spirit himself pleads our case for us with groanings unutterable, that is not speaking in tongues. Maybe we'll do a study on that. And he who searches the hearts knows what the mind of the Spirit is, because he makes intercession for the set-apart ones according to Elohim. The master, the head of the body, makes the intercession for those who are one with him in the Spirit. Flesh versus the Spirit. It has to come from the very being of who we are. Isaiah 66. What are we feeding on? What are we listening to? What are we looking at? Thus says Yahuwah, the heavens are my throne, because he's on the throne, and the earth is my footstool. We brought that up in the first part of the study. And he's going to crush the head of the serpent, bruise it, crush it one day. Where is this house that you build for me? And where is this place of my rest? I'm going to go get my coffee. We're going to come back and start with that again. Let me go get my coffee. That is so much better. All right, let's start that again. Isaiah 66, 1. Let's pull the e-sword up. Let's see what we got here. Apparently what I got is mouse trouble here with my mice. And a chicken ready to fly out of its box out there. Can you believe it? There we go. Isaiah 66, 1. Gosh, I hope you guys couldn't see my messy room when I did that. No, that's good. Haha. All right, Isaiah 66. Thus, look at that terrible word. Thus saith Yahuwah, the heavens are my throne, because he is on the throne, and the earth is my footstool. We looked at that before. It's his footstool. To stamp upon a footstool. I don't want to go into that. Okay. Where is this house that you build for me? And where is this place of my rest? Are we being built into the dwelling? Are we the dwelling place being built into the final dwelling place? A picture of it going towards that, just like we rehearse the feast days. Where is this house that you build for me? Where is the bride that's be one with me in the Holy of Holies in the temple? Where are the living stones in the wall of the city so that the seed can come in? Where is this house? Where is this family that you build for me? And where is this place of my rest? Where is this place, this where one rises up to? This place of my rest that all creation groans for. Let's look at the place. J 1427 JA. A place one rises up to. Makum, this is the resurrection. Where is this place? Where is the place? He's risen. We're supposed to rise up. Where is this place of his rest? All creation is groaning for. Because currently we are continuing outside. Supposed to be guided as a flock to the place of water, the living water, the water of life. Here is water for drinking as well as green grass for pasturing. Once the flock arrives, they are free to rest from the long journey. Well, no wonder creation's groaning for it. A guided journey to a place of rest. Is that what we're being guided by? Is the Ruach HaKodesh that we are supposed to be the dwelling place of individually and collectively? Being built into the house, the family. The bride into the temple is one with him. The city where the seed comes in. This is a guided journey to a place of rest. Are we being guided there? By the seed? By the seed? I don't know what J looks like. Let's go look. A noon. I know it's an A down there. I got it. Rest, 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 rest. See, everybody's resting in here? Okay. You're tricking me none. It's a noon, a hua, and a het. Where is this place where his seed is securely making their way, guided to the other side of the fence? Where is this house? Where is this family? Where are these sons? Ben Rootline. All these my hand is made, and all these that exist, declares Yahuwah. All these that exist, declares Yahuwah, yet to such a one I look, on him who is poor and bruised of spirit, and him who trembles at my word. Where are they? But whoever slays the bull strikes a man. Okay. Whoever slaughters the lamb breaks a dog's neck. Whoever brings a grain offering, pig's blood. Whoever burns incense blesses an idol. Sounds like horror activity to me. Indeed, they have chosen their own ways because they've been driven to be in the flesh, and their being delights in their abominations. Just like we saw in Yehezkel. We didn't see it. We talked about it. I think it's in Yehezkel 8. All the abominations in the house and in the temple behind the walls. I also shall choose their punishment and bring their fears upon them. Because I called, but no one answered. I spoke, and they did not hear. And they did dysfunction. They did evil before my eyes and chose what was displeasing to me. They didn't do what was Tob. All these things existed. And they came under the authority of that which was dysfunctional. Dysfunctional, wrong, evil, or wicked. Hear the word of Yahuwah, you who tremble at his word, your brothers who hate you, who cast you out for my name's sake. Right? And let Yahuwah be esteemed. Let him who breathed everything, whose name is one, be esteemed, so that we see your joy, but they are put to shame. A roaring sound from the city, a voice from the Hekel, the voice of Yahuwah, repaying his enemies. Before she labored, she gave birth. Before a pain came to her, she was delivered of a male child. Who has heard the like of this? Who has seen the like of these? Is a land brought forth in one day? Is a nation born at once? For as soon as Zion labored, she gave birth to her children. Are we on our way to Zion? Are we doing that which is Tob? Everything that exists, are we doing that which is Tob unto Yahuwah Elohim? You guys can read the rest of this chapter. I'm not going to read the rest of it. It's beautiful. It fits right in. But we're going to move on. Point being, what are we feeding? What and what are we eating? That when the seed that comes from us that feeds others, what are we birthing? Or do you not know that your body is the dwelling place of the Ruach HaKodesh, who is in you, which you have from Elohim. You are not your own. You're not supposed to be. For you were bought with a price. Therefore, esteem Elohim in your body and in your spirit. The spirit of the Ruach HaKodesh needs to be esteemed, which are Elohim and are of Elohim. Dwelling place. Nehos, from a primary word, neo, to dwell, a fane, a shrine, a temple. 1 Kings 6:3. And the porch at the front of the hekel of the house was 20 cubits long, according to the breadth of the house, and its width 10 cubits from the front of the house. Goes back to Strong's 1964 in the Hebrew, hekel. Hekel. Probably from 3201 in the sense of capacity, a large public building such as a palace or a temple. Okay. 1242 F-E. That's going to mess with me, huh? In the ancient Hebrew lexicon, we can see there, Hekel, a house, the house of Elohim, a temple, the king, palace, or of a king palace. F is house, an enclosure for a resident Elohim or king in the sense of whole. And here we are at the bride line. What are we feeding on? What are we eating? What are we feeding others? The action is complete. We'll be unable, incomplete, not whole, to go in, to be the bride. The action is complete. The concrete is vessel. What is our vessel carrying? What's driving us? The abstract is whole. The kaf is a picture of the bent palm representing the bending or subduing of the will. The lam is a picture of a shepherd's staff or yoke. Combined, these mean tame for the yoke. Are we tame for the yoke? Do we have the revelation, of the Ruach HaKodesh? What needs to be done in the spirit, the works that need to be done. The scatter, an arm scatter seed, that would tame us for the yoke, that would cause us to fully bend our will to the shepherd and give in to all that is him and not of the whore. Are we going to walk hand in hand with him as his bride to overcome what's in this flesh and bring forth the good news to the seed? An animal or land that is tamed, has been worked, and is complete and ready for use. Are we? Taming includes construction of the holding pens. Got your sukkah up? You ready to go in? Putting the soil to the plow of the heart. Putting the soil of the heart to the plow. Harvesting of crops. Are we going to be in that harvest? Milk or meat. One eats once the harvest is complete. And there is your marriage supper of the Lamb. Are we the dwelling place? Rehearsing and practicing to be the fullness of one with our husband in that day as the bride that will be pulled from the rest of the family, from the body, like Rebecca was pulled from the family, the body. Genesis 7:1. Just want to reiterate this quickly. Okay, just a little air. And Yahuwah said to Noach, whose name means rest, that we read about, that the whole earth is groaning for. Here we got a picture. The whole earth was groaning. It was gone. Anyway, picture the remnant. And Yahuwah said to Noach, come into the ark, you and all your household, because I have seen that you are righteous before me in this generation. He didn't take his whole house. He took his family. Did he take things in his house? Maybe. I don't know what he had in his house. But I just wanted to point out that the house is also a picture of the family. 1 Kings chapter 6. Which is where we took this. I think it was verse 3. No, that's not the right way. 1 Kings chapter 6. Maybe not, right? And it came to be in the 480th year, after the children of Israel had come out of the land of Mitzrayim, in the 4th year of the reign of Shlomo, who is the seed of the Malchi, the king, and the priest who ate from the table of showbread. He is the seed. Yes, this is a physical picture. Yahuwah is not separate from his word, because the word is the seed that he breathed. This is all we get in the physical sense, because we're not Yahuwah. And Shlomo's name means shalom. Shalom, walking in the shoes of the gospel, peace, which is the Besorah, which we are to overcome as husband and wife, that the whore would like us to remain in. We are to overcome that flesh and bring the Besorah. Walking in the shoes of the gospel peace on the head of the serpent that we saw in the first part, and crushing him. We're supposed to walk on those. Shalom builds the temple and leads us to, builds the house, brings the family into the city, brings the seed in. Shalom does that. It gives life. Shalom's gonna reign over Yisrael in the new moon of, hey, that's on our license. That's on our license plate. Well, look at that. Which, Zu, I don't know what that word is, which is in the second new, that he began to build the house of Yahuwah. We are to be kings and priests mastered by Shalom, according to Colossians 3, building the house, bringing up the family, becoming one in this life as much as we can, to be made like him and be his bride. The sovereign of peace reigns over the kings, the sons of peace, of Shalom, adding everything that needs to be added and subtracting everything that needs to be subtracted from our lives, the flesh, adding all the things of the spirit, subtracting all the things of the flesh. Ooh, how'd you like that? Builds the house, builds the temple. Oh my goodness. And the house which the king of Shalom built for Yahuwah was 60 cubits long and 20 cubits wide and 30 cubits high. And the porch at the front of the Hekel, of the house, was 20 cubits long according to the breadth of the house, and with its width 10 cubits from the front of the house. And he made for the house windows with narrowed frames. And against the walls of the house he built rooms all around. That reminded me of the staying places for the priests in Yehezkel's temple, but I don't know that for sure. Be nice to hear from someone that might. The walls of the house, the stones, the walls of the house, the stones, all around the Hekel and the speaking place. Oh, let me read that again. And against the wall of the house he built rooms all around. The walls of the house, all around the Hekel, all around the temple, which comes from the bride line, and the speaking place. Thus he made side rooms all around. Are we going to serve Elohim and adhere and cling to him? The lowest side room was 5 cubits wide, and the middle one was 6 cubits wide, and the third one was 7 cubits wide, for he made narrow ledges around the outside of the house, so as not to lay hold on the walls of the house. And the house, when it was being built, was built with stone made ready. Stone, that word ready, we're going to go look at it. First Kings 6, verse 7. And the house, when it was being built. Who was building it? The sons, the Bens, the Benats, the sons and the daughters were building it. Shalom was building it. Was built of stone. Oh, look, it comes from the Ben line as well. Was made ready. It was shalom. It was complete. It had been made into a state of being mastered by shalom, the state of being whole, complete, or full, by adding and or subtracting beforehand, now, so that no hammer died to the flesh now, or chisel or any iron tool was heard in the house while it was being built. Shalom stones, shalom sons, living stones with the fullness of the shalom of Yahuwah Elohim that are of the spirit and not of the flesh, are the stones in the wall of the temple, of the house, and of the city. It's all a picture. So when we are put into that final wall, we already are shalom. B'nai shalom. Sons of peace. The doorway of the middle side room was on the right side of the house, and they went up by the stairs to the middle side rooms, and from the middle to the third. So he built the house and completed it. It's completion. It's fully tamed for the yoke. It was supposed to be. Now we know that it chose to become corrupt, because all those stones in that temple, not one were left upon another, as Yahusha said. Why? Because they were corrupt. It was a picture for us. It was completed. And it couldn't be, because it was under an Aaronic priesthood. And then it became corrupt with the flesh. It's that dual picture we were looking at in Romans. Wow. Wow. So he built the house and completed it, and he paneled the house with beams and borders of cedar. And he built the side rooms of the structure against all the house, each 5 cubits high, and they were fastened to the house with cedar beams. I do not know if that's the same word for fastened. Wouldn't that be interesting? And the word of Yahuwah came to Shlomo, saying, this house which you are building. Now listen. Excuse me, I need to listen. If you walk in my laws and do my right rulings and shall guard my commands and walk in them, then I shall confirm my word with you which I spoke to your father David. Walk in shalom. Add these things which need to be added, and subtract that which needs to be added, in order to be in the house under the king of the Melchizedek, the master in one spirit, and shall dwell in the midst of the children of Israel, and not forsake my people Israel. Gonna feed them? Gonna take care of them? In what? Spirit and truth, not compromise and lies. Teaching them to add what needs to be added, subtract what needs to be subtracted, and how do I want to say this? With your whole being, all of who we are. And he built the walls of the house inside with cedar boards, From the floor of the house to the ceiling, he paneled them on the inside with wood and covered the floor of the house with planks of cypress. And he built 20 cubits at the rear of the house, from floor to the walls, with cedar boards, and built it inside as the speaking place and as the most set-apart place, the Holy of Holies. And the house was 40 cubits. It is the Hekel before it. And the cedar for the house inside was carved with ornaments and open flowers. All was cedar, not a stone was seen. So the whole inside of the house being cedar, but yet the living stones were in the wall. Isn't that interesting? And he prepared the speaking place in the midst of the house to place the ark of the covenant of Yahuwah there. Stephanie, it's time for a study on cedar. And the front of the speaking place was 20 cubits long. Let me move this mouse. And the front of the speaking place was 20 cubits long, and 20 cubits wide, and 20 cubits high. And he overlaid it with refined gold, and overlaid the slaughter place of cedar. And Shlomo overlaid the inside of the house with refined gold, that which is precious, which is what we saw wrapped around, girded around his loins, and made gold chains pass over the front of the speaking place, and overlaid it with gold. Thus he overlaid the entire house with gold until the entire house was completed, and the entire slaughter place was by the speaking place. He overlaid it with gold. We've got a picture of stones in the wall. We've got this picture of cedar inside of that, and the whole thing overlaid with gold. Cedar and gold are for another day, obviously. And inside the speaking place, he made 2 cherubim of olive wood, 10 cubits high. And so we can see, I'm not going to continue to read on. I thought I was, but I'm not. You can continue to read on about how it was built. And there's all different beautiful pictures in there, from the olive wood to the gold to the cedar. Really, we're just focused on the living stones in the wall. Builds the house, is part of the temple that is joined to Yahuwah. These stones must be built with shalom, lined with cedar, and overlaid with gold. Second Chronicles 6, 1-9. Alright, we'll come back to that. Something caught my eye there. Second Chronicles 6, 1-9. Then Shlomo said, Yahuwah has said, dwell in the dark. Yahuwah has said he would dwell in the dark cloud, but I have built you an exalted house, a cohabitation between a man and a woman. That's where it comes from. And a place for you to dwell in forever, Yashab, to be married, to remain, to sit, to dwell. And the sovereign turned around and blessed all the assembly of Israel, while all the assembly of Israel stood. And he said, Blessed be Yahuwah Elohim of Israel, who has filled with his hands what he spoke with his mouth. Every piece, part, and conglomerate that he spoke with his mouth, he did with his hands. We can hear it and we can see it. From the day that I brought my people out of the land of Mitzrayim, I have chosen no city from any tribe of Israel which to build a house for my name, my breath, the picture of me in its fullness to be there, except the new Yerushalayim, which comes down from the Shemayim. That's what we have a picture of here. This one became corrupt, had an Aaronic priesthood. Nor did I choose any man to be leader over my people Yisrael, but I have chosen Yerushalayim for my name to be there. Is that the family that we're part of? That we're going to be part of in that day that we read about in the end of Romans 8? And I have chosen Dawid to be over my people Yisrael. Well, Dawid was dead in the physical. It's a picture. And it was in the heart of my father Dawid to build the house for the name of Yahuwah Elohim of Yisrael. But Yahuwah said to my father Dawid, because it was in your heart to build a house for my name, you did well in that it was in your heart. Dawid was a man after Yah's own heart, wanting to build and raise up the family and protect the family of Yahuwah Elohim. But you do not build the house for your son, the seed, the word that he breathed, by following it in perfect shalom that gives us shalom. That's what builds the house, because the son comes forth from your loins. It's a picture of the seed. Did this really happen in the physical? Of course. But he does build the house for my name. What are we doing as sons and daughters to build the house in Shalom? Colossians 3. Are we adding and subtracting? If then, this is one of my favorite verses. Couple verses here. If then you were raised from the watery grave with Messiah, to die to the flesh, and to come in under the priesthood of the Malchi, to walk in the matters of the Spirit, not in the matters of the flesh, then seek those things which are above, that need to be added, where Messiah is seated, the power, strength, and authority at the right hand, because he is the power, strength, and authority of Yahuwah Elohim. He's not sitting there separate. He is the power, strength, and authority, the seed, Yahuwah Elohim, that brings shalom, the word that needs to be added to our life, that would subtract those things when we follow it from our lives, because we only know it because we read the Torah, according to Romans 7. Mind that which is above, not those on the earth. Spiritual wisdom. Not driven by earthly things or earthly wisdom. For you have died, and your life has been hidden with Messiah and Elohim, now and then. When the Messiah, who is our life, is manifested, the first resurrection, you shall be also manifested with him in esteem. We shall be made like him, and then we shall be esteemed as his bride. Therefore, put to death your members which are on the earth: whoring, uncleanness, passion, evil desire, and greed of gain, which is idolatry. Because of these, the wrath of Elohim is coming upon the sons of disobedient, those who are mastered by the flesh. Mastered by another. came under the authority of these things that existed, that were not of obedience, in which you also once walked when you lived in them. I said, I've been there, done it, been driven on many levels. But now also put off all these: displeasure, wrath, evil, blasphemy, filthy talk from your mouths. Do not lie to each other, since you have put off the old man with his practices. A lie is divination. To do, don't do. I do what I don't want to do, and I do what I don't want to do, and I don't do what I do want to do. Get rid of it. And have put on the new one, who is renewed in knowledge, who is immersed and intimate according to the likeness of him who created him. Where there is not Greek and Yehudai, circumcised and uncircumcised, foreigner, Scythian, slave, free, but Messiah is all and in all. The Spirit is all and in all. Who choose, who have been chosen, and now choose to be walking in that of the Spirit, and not driven by the things and adhere to the things of the flesh. Therefore, as chosen ones of Elohim, set apart and beloved, put on compassion, kindness, humbleness of mind, meekness, patience, bearing with one another and forgiving each other if anyone has a complaint against another. Indeed, as Messiah forgave you, so also should you. But above all these, put on love. Love includes truth. It is not compromise, which is the bond of perfection, of tamim, of being perfect. And let the peace, the shalom of Elohim rule in your hearts, to which indeed you were called in one body to be built into the temple as the bride, the family, the house, the city, to bring the seed in of Yahuwah Elohim, not without shalom. Not without shalom, mastering our body and us walking in it with him as husband and wife to overcome that. Okay, husband and wife. Okay, bride and bridegroom. To overcome that flesh. Bring forth the Besorah, the gospel of the good news of peace. Must rule in our hearts, to which indeed you were called in one body under the Master, in one Spirit, the Ruach, and be filled with thanks. Okay. Everything, piece, part, and conglomerate in us. This world has nothing for us. Nothing. The peace that the world would give is a lie. Let the word of Messiah dwell in you richly, teaching and admonishing one another in all wisdom, spiritual wisdom, not the earthly wisdom where we get Miss Sophia, singing with pleasure in your heart to the Master in psalms and songs and praise and spiritual songs like Dawid. And whatever you do in word or deed, do it all in the name of the Master, Yahusha, Yahuwah, who came to rescue you, giving thanks to Elohim, the Father, through the Word, by following it and adding and subtracting, walking in the shoes of the gospel of Shalom. That's how we build the house. Shalom rules. Shalom rules. It's no wonder they jacked it up and made it an adopted root. All right, that's another story. 1 Peter 2, 1-12. Having put aside then all dysfunction, everything that is not Tob, even though it exists out there, and all deceit and hypocrisies and envyings and all dysfunctional words, as newborn babes desire the unadulterated milk of the word, because milk makes the bones strong, in order that you grow by it, become mature, tamim, spotless, without a blemish, to be the bride. If indeed you have tasted that the Master is Tob, profitable, drawing near to him, a living stone, chief cornerstone, rejected indeed by men, but chosen by Elohim and precious. You also, as living stones in the wall, are being built up a spiritual house to walk in the Spirit, not in the flesh, to trample on serpents and scorpions, to walk with the Master in the shoes of the gospel peace, to overcome and be built in the wall of the house of the temple of the city, stones of shalom, living stones, life and peace, a set-apart priesthood, to offer up spiritual slaughterings. We are a sacrifice unto Elohim, acceptable to Elohim through Yahushua Messiah by dying to the flesh as he died to the flesh. Because it is contained in the scripture. See, I lay in Zion. We're going to be Zion, a chief cornerstone, chosen, precious, and he who believes on him shall by no means be put to shame. This preciousness then is for you who believe, but to those who are disobedient, the stone which the builders rejected has become the chief of the corner, and a stone of stumbling, and a rock that makes for falling, because they can't be in the wall. No way to build it without the shalom that comes from the King of Shalom, the King of Peace, according to Hebrews, the Melech Tzedek of Shalom, not of Salem, of Shalom, of peace, he said to Abraham, and it's in Hebrews 7. To the word which they also were appointed. But you are a chosen race, a royal priesthood, a set-apart nation, a people for a possession, that you should proclaim the praises of him who called you out of darkness, out of the flesh and the works of the flesh, and into his marvelous light, that you could see and you could hear. What he spoke with his hands, what he spoke with his mouth, he did with his hands. Can you see it? Can you hear it? Light can be seen and it can be heard. Well, let me not say it that way. It's a wave particle duality. Who once were not a people, but now the people of Elohim, who had not obtained compassion, but now obtained compassion. Beloved ones, I appeal to you as sojourners and pilgrims to abstain from fleshly lusts, which battle against the being. Really? It battles against what the Spirit wants you to do and don't do? Having your behavior, your walk among the nations so profitable, not coming to the authority of anything that is dysfunctional, so that when they speak of you as dysfunctional doers, let them, by observing your Tob works, your actions speak. They do. Esteem Elohim in the day of his visitation. Oh, John 17. You gotta be kidding me. Yahuwah said these words, and lifted up his eyes to the Shemaim, and said, Father, the hour is come. Esteem your Son. Esteem the word which you wrapped in the flesh, that would come with you as the fullness thereof. He didn't have a fleshly son. It was impossible. He made the seed of his word into his flesh. I don't know how some are going to take that. Whatever. So that your Son also might esteem you. When we walk not according to the flesh on the serpent who would try to drive us here, there, and everywhere, like he did try to test him in the wilderness, still going to, until the last minute, the Spirit esteems the Word and the Word esteems the Spirit. They walk hand in hand. They are one. You don't have one without, well, let me not say that. As you have given him authority over all flesh, he was able to, he didn't let anything of the flesh have authority over him, even though all these things existed. None had authority over him. That he should give everlasting life to all whom you have given him. Okay, are we going to follow it? That's all we have to do, is walk in it. And this is everlasting life, that they should know you. We should be intimate with Yahuwah Elohim, the only true Elohim, and him as the one who came to rescue us, that he sent to come and rescue us. That which he breathed, he made flesh and wrapped himself in it. And now esteem me with yourself, Father. Esteem what you have breathed. Esteem the word that you have given. By him being able to overcome the flesh with the esteem which I had with you before the world. There's no esteem in this flesh. None. His word's been esteemed. Every piece, part, and conglomerate of him that he breathed was esteemed from the very beginning because it was part of him. I have revealed your name, Yahuwah, to the men whom you gave me out of the world. They were yours, and you gave them to me to follow the word and die to the flesh, to be head, and they have guarded your word. They were joined to the word. They clung to that. That is what fastened them into the yoke. Now they have come to know all that you gave me is from you. All that he gave his word to do was from him, because it was him. Because the words which you gave to me I gave to them, and they have received them. If you receive something, you adhere to it, you cling to it, you accept it, and have truly known that I came from you, and they believed that you sent me. That he breathed his word, and that his word came to show us how to walk it out. I pray for them. I do not pray for the world, but for those whom you have given me, for they are yours, because there's a whole other body going on that doesn't want to overcome the flesh. And all mine are yours, and yours are mine, and I have been esteemed in them. All mine are yours, and yours are mine. Everyone that follows the word belongs to Yahuwah, and everybody that belongs to Yahuwah follows the seed that he breathed. And the word is esteemed in them. Yahuwah is esteemed in them because they follow the word wherever he goes. And I am no more in the world, but these are in the world. And I come to you set apart, Father. Guard them in your name, Yahuwah, which you have given to me, so that they might be one as we are one. We're supposed to be one in the body, one spirit, under him as the master, joined to him, adhering to that which was written in the word. Because one day we're going to be made like him, and as the bride is one with her husband. When I was with them in the world, I was guarding them in your name which you have given me. I watched over them, and not one of them perished except the son of destruction, that the scripture might be filled. Somebody knew something ahead of time. And now I come to you, and I speak these in the world, so that they have my joy completed in them. It's not going to be fully completed until he returns, but if we walk in the Spirit, the Ruach HaKodesh, walking in the light as he is in the light, in the Spirit that dwells in us, not joined to the whore. I have given them your word, and the world hated them, because they are not of the world, as I am not of the world. We're not joined to that woman, even though she's among all the people. We don't adhere to what she has to offer. That's not always easy, but it gets easier. But then it gets harder, because it's a little bit trickier, per se. I do not pray that you should take them out of the world, but that you keep them from the wicked one. They are not from adhering to what he would try to drive us with. They are not of the world, as I am not of the world. Set them apart in your truth, because truth is precious. Your word is precious. Your word is the truth. He is the word. He is the truth. Yahuwah is the truth. As you sent me into the world, I also send them into the world. What are we feeding other people and causing them to listen to? What actions are we putting forth? Because actions speak. Are we walking in shalom? Adding that and subtracting the other. As you sent me into the world, I also send them into the world. And for them I set myself apart, so that they too might be set apart in truth. And I do not pray for these alone, but also for those believing in me through their word. What are we feeding them? What are we feeding people? Whatever we're feeding on. Just like Noah was told, gather that which you will have for food for the remnant. What are we feeding on that we would feed others? So that they all might be as one, as you, Father, are in me and I in you, so they too might be one in us, so that the world might believe that you have sent me. It's all about oneness with each other and with Him. A bride is one with her husband to overcome the flesh, and there will be a final picture of that at the marriage supper of the Lamb, at the Holy of Holies. And the esteem which you gave me I have given them, so they might be one as we are one. I and them, and you and me, so that they might be perfected into one, tamim, holy, righteous, mature, set apart, without blemish, perfect, so that the world knows that you have sent me and have loved them as you have loved me. Father, I desire that those whom you have given me might be with me where I am, so that they see my esteem which you have given me, because you loved me before the foundation of the world. Are we going to be there? Are we going to be one with Him? Are we going to be? A husband esteems his bride. Not because she's out whoring around. That ain't going to happen. O righteous Father, indeed the world did not know you, but I knew you, and these knew that you sent me. They knew Yah's word when they heard it, when they saw it. And I have made your name, Yahuwah, known to them, and shall make it known, so that the love with which you loved me might be in them, and I in them. It's all about being one at a point now that we can with this stupid flesh, but being in the fullness of oneness then and there. We will be made like Him. Oh, Revelation 21. We got 2 more slides, I think. And I saw a renewed heaven and a renewed earth, because the heavens rolled up like a scroll, and the earth was circumcised with fire, to kill the DNA that was left of these wicked, evil ones. For the former heaven and the former earth had passed away, and the sea of those nasty people that the whore rode among is no more. And now Yohanan saw the set-apart city, the renewed Yerushalayim, coming down out of the heaven from Elohim, prepared as a bride, adorned, cleansed for her husband. The fullness of shalom, that the seed can come in the gate. And I heard a loud voice from the Shemaim saying, See, the booth of Elohim is with men, and he shall dwell with them, and they shall be his people, and Elohim himself shall be with them, and be their Elohim. And Elohim shall wipe away every tear from their eyes, and there shall be no more death, because the flesh is gone, no more mourning, because the flesh is gone, nor crying, because everything, the joy is now fully complete. And there is to be no more pain, for the former have passed away, because the whore is gonzo. And he who was sitting on the throne said, See, I make all new. And he said to me, Write, for these words are true. They are the truth, because this is the city of truth, that has the walls of shalom, and trustworthy, firm. And he said to me, It is done. I am the El to the Tav, in its perfect order, the beginning to the end, the beginning and the end. To the one who thirsts, I shall give of the fountain of the water of life without payment. And to the one who overcomes shall inherit all this, and I shall be his Elohim, and he shall be my son. What family are we going to be in? But as for the cowardly, and the untrustworthy, and the abominable, and the murderers, and those who whore, and the drug sorcerers, and idolaters, and all the false, their part is in the lake of fire, which burns with fire and sulfur, which is the second death. The body of the whore is gone, along with the whore. And one of the 7 messengers who held the 7 bowls filled with the 7 last plagues came to me and spoke with me, saying, Come, I shall show you the bride, the Lamb's wife. She's cleansed herself. Oh, it's just so hot in here. And he carried me away in the spirit to a great high mountain, and showed me the great city, the set apart Jerusalem, the city of truth, having descended out of the heaven from Elohim, having the esteem of Elohim, because a husband esteems his bride, a husband brings up his children, the seed are going to come in, and her light was like a most precious stone, like a jasper stone, clear as crystal, and having a great and high wall, having 12 gates, and at the gates 12 messengers, and the names written on them, which are those of the 12 tribes of the children of Yisrael. That's how they're going to come in. Through the gates, which are connected with the wall. Yahusha is the only way in for each of the 12 tribes. What are we feeding them? What are we feeding ourselves? What are we listening to, and what are we driven by? 3 gates on the east, 3 gates on the north, 3 gates on the south, and 3 gates on the west, for all the tribes and those who would sojourn with them. And the wall of the city had 12 foundations, and on them were the names of the 12 emissaries of the Lamb. And he who spoke with me had a golden measuring rod to measure the city, its gates and its walls. Measured its gates and its walls. And the city lies 4-cornered, and its length is as great as its breadth. And he measured the city with a rod, 12,000 stadia. The length and the breadth and the height of it are equal. And he measured its wall, 144 forearms, according to the measure of man, that is, of a messenger. And the structure of its wall was jasper, and the city was clean gold, like clear glass. And the foundations of the wall of the city were adorned with all kinds of precious stones. The first foundation, jasper. The picture of what Shlomo built was a picture. Now we have this beautiful picture, which would cause us to need to go deeper, and I guess into each of these stones. And the foundations of the wall of the city were adorned with all kinds of precious stones. The first foundation, jasper, the second, sapphire, the third, agate, the fourth, emerald, the fifth, sardox, the sixth, ruby, the seventh, crystallite, the eighth, beryl, the ninth, topaz, the 10th, crystophrase, the 11th, jacinth, and the 12th, amethyst. And the 12 gates were 12 pearls. And no swine coming in there. Don't throw your pearls before the swine. Each one of the gates, don't throw your entrance into the kingdom to the dogs before the swine. They're just going to trample it, chew it up, spit it out. Each of the gates was a single pearl, and the street of the city was clean gold like transparent glass. Truth is precious. And I saw no dwelling place in it, for Yahuwah El Shaddai is its dwelling place, even and also the Lamb, who we are to be made like, and who we are one with, and are esteemed by and in. Am I saying we're Yahuwah El Shaddai? Absolutely not. But we are made one with him, rehearsing now to be one as his bride. John 17, the dwelling place of Yahuwah Elohim, having followed with the Lamb died. Are we dying to that same flesh? Is it everything inside of us that's driving us is the Ruach HaKodesh? And the city had no need of a sun, nor the moon to shine in it, for the esteem of Elohim lighted it. Even also the Lamb is its lamp. And the nations who are saved, who were rescued, who came out of the rest of the body shall walk in its light, and sovereigns of the, just like the bride does, who is one with him. The rest of the nations that came in the gates, his seed shall walk in its light, and the sovereigns of the earth bring their esteem into it. And its gates shall not be shut at all by day, for night shall not be there. There's no more darkness. and they shall bring the esteem and the appreciation of the nations into it. And there shall by no means enter into it whatever is unclean, neither anyone doing abominations and falsehood. No one that's adhered to the things of the whore and does not repent and come clean, but only those who are written in the Lamb's book of life. We need to be looking out for each other. 2 Chronicles 21. This is speaking about Jehoram. And a letter came to him from Eliyahu, the prophet, saying, Thus says Yahuwah Elohim of your father David, the Melchi himself, whose seed built the house. Because, this might even be Shlomo, no, this isn't. This might be Asas. This might be Jehoshaphat's son, the judge's son. Anyway, because you have, not that he was a judge, it's just what his name means. Because you have not walked in the ways of Jehoshaphat, your father. Jehoshaphat is Yah is the judge, Shaphat. Because you have not walked in the ways of David, the ways of your father, Jehoshaphat. David, we're going back to him, to David, the king and the priest. Because you have not walked in the way of Yahuwah is the judge, Yehoshaphat, who judges by those who follow what prophets, who follow what is Tob, even though all these things exist. We need to follow what is Tob, because that's what we will be judged by. Your father, or in the ways of Asa, whose name supposedly means healer, sovereign of Yehuda, but have walked in the way of the sovereigns of Yisrael, who were whoring at the time, and have made Yehuda and the inhabitants of Jerusalem commit whoring, like the whoring of the house of Ahab, who was over Yisrael. Okay, these people led these people into, these kings, we're supposed to be kings and priests, living stones in the wall, walking in shalom, following the ways of David, following the ways that would cause us to be judged correctly by Yahuwah Elohim, and have also killed your brothers, those of the body, whom we are supposed to be the strong wall for. It's an El and a Het brother, strong wall of shalom, those of your father's household who were better than yourself. See, Yahuwah is going to strike with a great blow among your people, your children, your wives, and all your possession. There is a huge consequence coming for those that should be feeding that which is Tob, to the family, to the body, to the house, to their brothers, and to their sisters. And you, with many sicknesses, with disease of your intestines, of your bowels, of your belly, of that place where the Ruach HaKodesh, this is a picture, should be dwelling. You will have a disease in there, because this is what grieves the Holy Spirit in our lives today, until your intestines, now there's no place anymore. You've tasted and seen that which is good and thrown it away. Hebrews chapter 6. Until your intestines come out because of the sickness day by day. And Yahuwah stirred up the spirit of the Philistines against Jehoram, and of the Arabians who were near the Cushites, and they came into Yehuda and broke into it, and captured all the possessions that were found in the sovereign's house. So much for a house of shalom. And also his sons, his seed, so the wicked seed didn't pass it on, and his wives, those whom he would esteem, because he was the king and they were his wives, so that there was not a son left in him except Jehoaz, the youngest of his sons. And after all this, Yahuwah plagued him in his intestines, in that place where we saw that food's for the stomach and stomach for the foods, because it's the place where, for us today, a picture of where the Ruach HaKodesh would dwell with a disease for which there was no healing. One day it's going to be all over. And it came to be in the course of time, at the end of 2 years, that his intestines came out because of his sickness. no more Ruach HaKodesh, no more place for him to dwell. He can't live in that. Came out because of his sickness, and he died in great pain, and his people made no burning for him like the burning for his fathers. He was 32 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 8 years in Yerushalayim to no one's regret, and passed away. And they buried him in the city of David, but not in the burial site of the sovereigns. Picture of not burying the flesh and dying to the flesh. Do we want to be what we saw up in John 17, Revelation 21? Or is this where we want to be? What do we want to be part of? Let us, Father, be found driven by the Ruach HaKodesh. I'm not going to read this. I want you guys to go read this. Yehezkel 23. Let this just sink into the very being, every cell in your body, of who you are, who I am, who we are, and who we are to be as a body. Father, I just thank you, Yahuwah, that we can walk with the shoes of the gospel peace hand in hand with you. Let us find that place in the body without compromise. The remnant is small. O ye little flock. Yahuwah, I would ask that those small flock, small remnant, be brought together now, Yahuwah, in your name, that we might be one as you are one, as we are to be one with you, esteemed in you, to feed the seed and heal the rest of the body. That the disease that begins in the gut would be gone, that we might spring forth healing in spirit and in truth. In your name, Yahuwah, who came to rescue us. Hallelujah.